Have you ever had the impression that you were meant for something bigger? But you can't describe it, as if you're on an unseen mission, something only you can feel. This is not imagination. This is the calling. Many people disregard it, but the selected ones experience it strongly. And when this duty is not recognized, the soul begins to suffer silently. Being picked isn't a luxury. It's a responsibility. It is about feeling more, to notice what others are ignoring, carry a weight that no one understands. However, in time, this weight might become an obstruction. The spirit slowed down. The spirit is lost, and the sheen fades. Not because you gave up, but because internal traumas began to influence your decisions. These wounds, which I dubbed diseases of the soul, do not show up on tests but appear as behaviors, ideas, and feelings. The symptoms eventually take control. Apathy, impulsiveness, selfishness, disconnection from the divine. This is why so many chosen ones feel immobilized, as if they are locked in a life that does not reflect who they are. Today, I want to open your eyes. I want to show you that there is a pattern, a secret script that attempts to undermine people on a mission. There are 4 spiritual illnesses that settle in the soul and separate the chosen ones from their actual destiny. If you notice these scars and seek healing, your journey will change significantly. But first, I want to pose an unusual question. Don't impulsively follow this channel. If this message struck a chord with you, if you felt something genuine within, this area is for awakened souls, not the inquisitive. Here, we make no pretense of evolution. We confront the reality, recover, and continue on our purpose. If this is your path, embrace one's stupidity. When troops turn away from wisdom, ignorance does not yell. Rather, it enters silently and without making a noise. When you realize it, you're already on autopilot, repeating hollow rituals with no presence or soul. For the selected one, this is dangerous because folks with a purpose cannot succumb to distraction. Every day without awareness is a day devoid of purpose. You get up, work on jobs, answer to messages, and do whatever else to break the stillness. Everything feels essential, yet nothing actually satisfies you. This is stupidity at work. The soul gets muted, as if it had been forced into a corner. The body is functional, but the spirit is missing. Chosen ones were not designed to exist in survival mode. They were designed to change. This demands presence and knowledge. But the modern world is noisy. Haste and excessive information. What was the result? You spend the entire day doing 1,000 things, yet feel as if you haven't accomplished anything genuinely significant. This corrodes the spirit from inside. The chosen one need insight from inside. It is not found in a brief movie, a fast message, or a lovely word. It emerges from inside via soulful listening, in real quiet. It is when you stop running, sit down, and ask yourself, what am I doing with my life? Does this path make sense? A selected one must learn to break free of this pattern. You don't have to become a monk, but you should learn to halt and listen to yourself, to observe your own ideas and question if they are yours or simply noise imposed upon you. Foolishness causes you to accept and repeat anything without considering. Wisdom emerges when you begin to challenge it. Perhaps you are consuming information that does not nourish you, relationships that drain you, and behaviors that just reinforce the emptiness. The issue then becomes, what has been nourishing you? Is it bringing you closer or further away from your mission? Food is the body's primary fuel source. Meaning is necessary for the soul to function. Without that, it will develop unwell. You do not need to modify everything at once. Begin with something small. Set aside 5 minutes each day to listen to how you are feeling. Write down what comes to mind. Consider what you're living. Wisdom does not emerge with force. It begins with brief flashes. However, if you allow it, it will illuminate everything around you. The spirit of the chosen one is sensitive, and sensitivity necessitates caution. If you are always distracted, You will smother your sensitivity and lose touch with what is genuinely important. You'll forget what you came here to do. Foolishness does not forcefully remove you from your purpose. It transports you away with distraction, excess, and hurry. Wisdom, on the other hand, brings you back to your core. It reminds you of who you are. It reveals what is worth retaining and what has to be let go. It's like awakening from a long slumber. The body may be exhausted, but the awakened spirit knows where it is headed, which alters everything. If you believe you're living by inertia, stop. Now, breathe. Honestly, ask yourself, what am I living? Does this make sense to me? Is it consistent with my mission? If the answer is no, appreciate yourself for noticing. This is the beginning of the healing process, and the chosen ones can only complete their mission if they choose to live in the midst of intemperance. When desire turns into a prison, there are jails without bars. They exist within of us, disguised as will, desire, and instinct. Intemperance is one of these prisons. It gives you the impression that you are in charge while, in reality, you're being controlled for a specific purpose. This sickness is dangerous because those who were created to liberate others cannot be tied to their own inclinations. Current civilization constantly promotes pleasure. Everything is now. Everything is late. The concept of waiting, breathing, and contemplating appears to be a weakness. But this is a delusion. True power comes from mastering what you know and what the chosen one needs to know. This is because any uncontrolled urge might cause your spiritual path to be delayed by months, if not years. Intemperance manifests itself silently in perpetual gluttony, habits disguised as addiction, the desire for stimulus, approval, and diversions. It appears common. Everyone lives this way, but the chosen one feels the pain more strongly because their soul cries out when it is out of sync. They recognize something is wrong, even if they are unable to describe it. It's not about repressing your emotions. It's not about being stiff or chilly. It is about channeling. It is about acknowledging that your energy is holy. And when you indulge in unfettered urges, you weaken yourself. The mission of the chosen one necessitates clarity, discipline, and balance. And it only happens when you learn to control yourself. The spirit seeks serenity, but the body seeks pleasure. The trouble arises when you live just for the body, which separates you from the spirit. Temperance operates like whey, promising short respite, yet leaving signs of emptiness. Pleasure without purpose becomes addiction, which separates you from your true self. Without essence, the calling diminishes. Self-control isn't a jail, it is freedom. You do not have to agree to everything you want to do. In truth, the selected ones must learn to say no to excess, loss of control, and the recurrence of patterns that only serve to damage the goal. Every time you decide to master yourself, you heal a part of yourself. Take a serious look at your conduct. What behaviors have weakened you? Where have you given too much? What instincts have guided your days? Healing occurs when you realize you've been running from yourself, running away from quiet, running away from discipline, fleeing from what is genuinely important. And this has to end. If you desire to progress, an imbalanced chosen one cannot maintain their own light. They may have wonderful intentions, but if they don't know where to concentrate their energies, they'll get off track. Intemperance is like a little fracture that, if not treated, might crumble. The structure and mission of a chosen one requires solid basis. It is not shameful to have desires. The issue is living as a slave to it. Your soul requests space, which appears only when the internal cacophony subsides. When you stop feeding the body with excesses and instead nurture the soul with purpose. Self-control is an expression of love. Love yourself, your mission, and who you may become as the chosen one. Understand that your energy is too valuable to be wasted. Use it with intention. Every decision you make shapes or ruins the path. Don't live as if you had unlimited time. The world requires your light today, but only those with the fortitude to conquer themselves will shine. And this is the most holy conflict in existence. 3. Injustice. The ego requires compassion. Injustice in the soul of the chosen one does not begin until they perform a heinous act. It begins with their closing their eyes to others, when they isolate themselves from the suffering of others. When individuals prioritize their personal interests over the group, the ego discreetly takes the place of compassion. Without compassion, the chosen one loses their essence, being picked for not being a saint. It requires ongoing awareness because the ego is crafty. It will convince you that everything revolves around you, that you deserve more, that you are already doing enough, and that your anguish always outweighs that of others. When you think this, you begin to act unjustly without recognizing it. Injustice is not limited to exceptional deeds. It is manifested in modest actions of apathy toward people who cannot offer you anything, in how you evaluate individuals who hold opposing viewpoints, and how you close your heart when someone requests assistance. The chosen one was summoned to heal. Avoid pointing fingers. The chosen one's energy grows stronger as they serve. When they care, they experience others' sorrow as if it were their own. This is truly spiritual justice. Recognizing that we are a part of something bigger, and that your objective is meaningless if it is not linked to the common good. You may have gifts, vision, and sensitivity, but if your heart is rigid, none of these will flow. The ego creates walls. Compassion creates bridges, and the chosen one was born to connect, not separate. When you behave with empathy, you connect with the divine. You become a channel for genuine healing. The world is filled of injured individuals who simply want to be heard, respected, and appreciated. Your gesture can alter someone's vibration, but if the ego takes precedence, you will pass them by. You will disregard. You'll rationalize. You will respond, "It is not my problem," and it is a betrayal of your mission. Spiritual injustice happens when we forget that we are all connected, that the light to bear does not belong to you. It is borrowed to light the road for others. This light dims when used just for personal usage. However, when you share it, it multiplies. This is the essence of the selected one. Ask yourself honestly, have I been acting compassionately? Have I made too many judgments? Have I prioritized my anguish over that of the world? Have I overlooked others' needs due to selfishness or emotional laziness? These answers are difficult, but vital, since healing cannot occur without an honest look. The chosen one's soul must be light in order to serve effectively, and the soul, full with ego, is weighty. It conveys remorse, pride, vanity, and superiority disguised as awareness. Only humility can dissolve this. The humility to accept that we are all learning that no one is above others. Each person has an invisible fight. True justice starts inside. It is a balance of firmness and love, of knowing yourself while remembering that the other is also a part of the total. The ego divides. Compassion unifies. The chosen one's task can only be preserved via togetherness. There is no actual point in showing contempt for others. The chosen one, your light is evaluated not by your spirituality, but by your ability to love, and loving sometimes involves listening. It's forgiving. It is understanding. It's putting oneself in the shoes of others. It is stepping out of the core of impiety, the emptiness of people who have disconnected from God. Impiety does not begin with the rejection of God. It begins with forgetfulness. The psyche gradually quits seeking the sacred. The link falls gone. Spirituality becomes a responsibility. The heart cools, and when the selected one loses this connection with the higher, everything appears to lose its shine. Without guidance, the purpose becomes ill-defined. There are times when trust wavers not out of malice, but because of exhaustion, pain, or doubt. The world is loud. All of this weighs hard on the chosen one, and without realizing it, he or she stops praying, trusting, and communicating with God. However, at this moment, the soul begins to dry out since it has lost its source, God. It is not about religion. It's all about connection. It's about having a secure space within yourself where the holy lives. The chosen one need this, since their duty necessitates strength that the world cannot supply. Only those who connect with the higher comprehend how much this connection nourishes, purifies, and protects in piety, which acts similarly to an emotional virus. It causes apathy. It gives the impression that everything is entirely your responsibility. And the more you attempt to solve problems on your own, the more exhausted you get. The selected one's heart was not designed to walk without spiritual direction. It was created to guide in tranquility and purpose. You may have talents, vision, and guts, but if you are cut off from the source, everything becomes too much work. Everything weights you down. Everything exhausts you. Piety diminishes significance. And as meaning fades, fatigue takes over. Many people abandon the expedition at this point, unaware of what they have lost. Reconnecting with God does not necessitate elaborate rituals. It begins with sincerity, a simple talk, and a genuine prayer. Even if quiet heaven hears the heart before the words, the chosen one must realize that they are not fighting alone. The mission is spiritual, thus it requires a spiritual base. When was the last time you actually sensed God? When was the last time you prayed without hurrying? Just to talk? If you missed it, it's an indication that the soul wants to reconnect. The feeling of emptiness is not due to a lack of success. There's an absence of the sacred. Faith is what keeps the chosen one going in times of crisis when everything appears to be falling. The presence of God keeps the flame blazing within. It makes no difference what kind of storm is outside. Those that are connected to the divine stay steady because they understand they are not alone. They were never pious. Makes you believe that you could be powerful without God. However, this strength is untrue. It breaks with the first strong hit. The genuine strength of the chosen one comes from above, and it only lasts when there is humility to admit that it is dependent on God. That true strength is born. The chosen one, your aim is admirable, but it was never intended to be accomplished just by you. It's about being a channel. It is about letting God operate through you, beside you, and for you. This only occurs when the soul is united, when there is room for the sacred in your day. If you believe you have drifted apart, do not blame yourself, but don't disregard it either. Returning is straightforward. Silence, sincerity, and presence. Talk to God like you would to a parent, as someone who seeks for aid and gives affection. The reconnection restores the fatigue of the soul while also healing the road of your quest. The fact is that there are times when the chosen one suspects that something within them is wrong. They can't explain it. They just sense a weight, a separation from their own nature. And this weight is frequently an indication that the soul is injured. The quiet spiritual ailments originate in this manner, taking up space, restricting light, and obscuring the goal. It is not embarrassing to recognize that the soul is ailing. Everybody goes through this. Everyone, even the chosen ones. The difference is what you do with the suffering. You can either dismiss it and keep living on autopilot, or you can pay attention to what your spirit is trying to convey. Pain is frequently an invitation, a reminder to return to what is truly important. The mending of the soul begins with truth, without masks and justifications. You must look within, not with guilt, but with bravery. Ask yourself, where have I abandoned myself? What voices have I followed? The soul calls out, but only those who turn out the external noise may hear it. The answer is not found outside. It's within. I am waiting for your attention. The illnesses we have witnessed, folly, intemperance, and injustice, are not accidental. These are signs of a disconnect. When the chosen one disconnect from themselves, others, and God, the void expands. The autopilot takes control, and the soul diminishes. The good news is that you can always start over. It is always possible to heal. The world is in a hurry, but the soul has its own pace. Healing isn't a race. This is a return. It means remembering who you are. And the one you chose is not just anyone. You have a mission. Such a mission cannot be accomplished with a broken heart. Healing is required so that you can walk with confidence, clarity, and honesty. You're not here just to survive. You were not born to meet commitments and pass the time. You are called to make a difference, to heal, and to inspire others. However, only those who embrace cleansing may do this. And this cleansing does not originate from outside. It's internal. It is a quiet cleansing that begins with the decision to transform the chosen soul. One is like a lamp, yet it only glows when it is clean, when it is tied to something greater, when it is not choked by resentments, vices, diversions, pride, injustice, folly, or intemperance. This lens is dirty, but there is good news. With humility and intention, everything may be closed. Healing the soul is a process of returning to its roots. It is not mysterious or unachievable. It's simple. Pray, meditate, write, ask for clarification, talk to God with sincerity, saying that you require assistance. Heaven doesn't need perfection. It demands presence. And when you decide to be present, healing begins to take place without your knowledge. Perhaps now you feel disconnected from your objective. Maybe you're exhausted, disheartened, or even lost. But I assure you that your light is still there. It is just wrapped with layers of anguish. And suffering isn't the end. Pain indicates that life still exists. And where there is life, transformation is possible. The selected one's mission extends beyond teaching. It is to apply what they teach. It is to go through the procedure truthfully. It is to fall and rise again through faith. It is to look within with love. The goal is to be the first to heal, in order to be a source of healing for others. This planet needs you back, not half-chosen one. You're not your past. You aren't your errors. You are defined by what you choose to do with your current feelings. And if you've gotten this far, it's because something inside you is yearning for a new route. A road of healing for the soul, awakening the spirit, and aligning the heart with heaven. If you sense this call, do not disregard it. Healing starts with a decision, an honest choice. Are you prepared to take your place? Not as someone flawless, but as someone who is open to transformation. The world is waiting for your light, which will shine only when you say yes to your soul. Throughout this trip, you've learned about 4 silent diseases that mostly affect individuals who have been called to something bigger. Perhaps while listening, you identified with more than one of them. This is not a weakness. It is an indication that your soul is still alive, feels, and desires to shine again. Foolishness separates you from your destiny without you recognizing it. It fills your days with diversions and deprives your acts of significance. It causes you to live on autopilot, far from the level of consciousness required for the chosen one to carry out their duty. Intemperance is an imbalance of wants. It takes over when instincts override the spirit. It offers pleasure, but delivers emptiness to the selected one. This weakens the spirit and diverts attention from what is genuinely important. Injustice occurs when the ego takes up space that should be reserved for empathy. When you forget the other, you lose your essence. The chosen one is called to serve, not judge. When compassion vanishes, the light of piety dims. Finally, there is the distance from the sacred. When the link with God is severed, everything becomes an effort. The luster wears off, the direction fades, and the soul dries up. And without this link to the higher, the selected cannot continue their task. But none of this means the end. It is only an alarm, a call. Every sickness can be treated. Every soul is capable of being reincarnated. Transformation happens when you decide to seek within for truth. When you pause and listen to what your heart has been trying to communicate for a long time. I want to know which of these soul ailments you believe has affected you the most. Leave a comment below. Speak truthfully. This interaction is more than simply a catharsis. It is a collective healing. This is a place for enlightened spirits. for individuals who feel and are willing to heal in order to live their true destiny. And if this message spoke to you, you already know you are a chosen one.